Hi, this is an introduction to a video or a series of videos that are going to be about using a bootable USB stick running a version of Linux called Porteus Linux. So the intro is to explain uh, why I want to do this, why network services technicians might want to do this, and why school techs might want to do this. So the need comes from problems that we experience from time to time, a little bit too often, unfortunately, with wireless networking in schools. And oftentimes, what happens is that teachers will be trying to use laptops for testing or for iReady or some other application in their classrooms will have problems. And uh, the old cliche is blame the network. So problems that teachers experience with either the ability to connect to the wireless network, even the ability to just log in laptops to get started, or experiences of problems with applications once they're connected, tend to get referred to either myself in the SLC or to the network services guys. But oftentimes it turns out that the problem doesn't lie in the network per se, in terms of the access points which are in the room or the switches or our connection to the internet. The problem often lies on the actual laptops themselves, and very often specifically within the Windows operating system. And when that's the case, we either need to work collaboratively with the endpoint team, or they need to become the lead on troubleshooting the issue. But an issue that we have had with that is that when I show up to a school to look at a problem, or my network services colleagues show up, um, obviously everyone's very frustrated. Uh, and, there is this tendency to blame the network. And when we say that it's not the network, um, and typically what might happen is we might show up with our own devices, our own laptops, our own uh, smartphones, and we will be able to go into the room where the problems with the network are and we will be able to connect with no problem. And we will inform the teacher or the school tech that the problem is not with the network and it is with the devices. And usually that's met with incredulity and a feeling that we might be trying to fob them off and simply get out of there. So I was thinking about how could I both satisfy myself more concretely that a problem we're seeing is not really a network problem, and also demonstrate this in the most clear form to the to either the school tech or the school staff who are having the problem. And it occurred to me that if I was able to come to a school with an alternative operating system with which I could boot their problem devices, or at least let's say the devices that are having a problem, and if those devices were to come up and connect to the wireless and perform perfectly, then that might kind of hammer home the idea that there really isn't a problem with the network per se, and that the problem is either exclusively with the device, and in this case, the operating system, maybe the drivers, maybe some changes that were made to the operating system, or potentially it might be a problem of interaction between the operating system and the network, such that there needs to be some collaborative approach to solving the problem. But certainly that the problem is not the exclusive fault, or the fault doesn't exclusively lie with the access points in the network. And also moving beyond the basic goal, perhaps, of you know um, demonstrating that something is not my problem. Uh, there's also the opportunity with this new operating system that we can boot devices with, of actually having a useful toolkit that allows some kind of analysis to be done. Again, potentially by school techs if they are so inclined, and definitely by network services guys and myself, tools that would allow us potentially to generate heavy loads on the network, uh, and stress test the network, and then see how other devices such as the Windows laptops or Chromebooks might perform when we've been able to generate a stressful environment by generating lots of traffic, for example. So beyond that simple, it's not me use of this device, there's the potential for it to be a more powerful and flexible tool.